It's a huge day for India, and as we looked with pride and our hearts swelling at the takeoff of Chandrayaan-3, the question is, how does this change, and is this a paradigm shift in India's space exploration? Somanath, Chairman ISRO, on the phone line with me right now. Mr. Somanath, thank you so much for speaking with us here at ET Now and for your time, and of course, to join us on such a big day. Can you start by telling us why this is a milestone? What is the importance and significance of Chandrayaan-3?
See, we have been working on exploring moon with the earlier missions, Chandrayaan-1, which was a very landmark event. It was an orbital mission trying to find out remotely what are the constituents of moon, and with a lot of instruments on board. And it was hailed as one of the very unique missions with international payloads, and finally resulted in discovery of water, presence of water on the moon, which was a great discovery, and many other scientific findings in Chandrayaan-1. And Chandrayaan-2 was followed up with after Chandrayaan-1, which was specifically looking at landing and exploring it further with additional instruments on the moon, and to have our own foothold on the moon terrain. But of course, that couldn't happen. And we are now trying to land on the moon with the Chandrayaan-3 with a similar objectives of what we couldn't be accomplished in Chandrayaan-2. The significance is that we definitely want to explore the moon in one of the very efficient and cost-effective missions so far done for moon landing purpose. And we have made it much better than what we did for Chandrayaan-2 this time. So this mission today is significant in the part that unless we put it in the Earth orbit, there is no way we can further go to moon. And it has been done with our own rocket, made in India rocket, LVM-3, with the biggest rocket we have, placed very heaviest satellite in the Earth orbit today. And further journey will happen now.
Fantastic. That it's an entire made in India endeavor is just fantastic. Just to understand, Mr. Somanath, like you mentioned, Chandrayaan-2 in 2019 didn't manage to land at the nth moment, some would say, just a few kilometers away from the moon. That didn't happen. What have we learned from that experience, and have we implemented some of those lessons so that we are more confident of what happens in 40 days from now as far as Chandrayaan-3 is concerned?
In Chandrayaan-2, we could accomplish much of the objective by placing the orbiter around the moon with its own instruments, which has been doing very well in the last 4 years or so, and giving a lot of information, which actually helped us to design the Chandrayaan-2 better by its scientific instruments and cameras on board. And there were lessons from the landing process. Of course, the last phase of the landing was an off-nominal situation that developed on board the lander, which couldn't be handled by the algorithm sitting inside the lander. If it was nominal, it could have landed. But when off-nominal conditions come, it may fail to land in such situations because it is an autonomous vehicle having certain level of intelligence on board. So we understand now that we need to handle other possibilities of going failures or extremes of conditions that can result in due to various off-nominal performances. And we have strengthened various ways by which this can be handled this time. So with all those improvements in multiple levels, not only the issue that we found, we addressed many other issues that could develop in such a scenario, and addressed all of them and solved them by improving the lander this time and incorporated them with a different lander, an improved lander this time.
What are we hoping to achieve because we've been seeing a lot of technical details coming out in the press. We've been reporting on it, but for our audience, and very few of us actually will understand the technicality of it, what are we expecting to achieve out of these moon missions for India and for humanity? What is the big picture here, sir?
See, the scientific objectives are very important in this mission. First of all, unless you land on the moon in a soft manner, the lander will not be healthy. And after achieving the soft landing, we want the rover to come out and move around the surface of the moon and do certain scientific experiments. Now, the scientific objectives are well laid out when the very beginning of Chandrayaan program, right from the orbit or the Chandrayaan-1 onwards. And the purpose of orbiter is already served in Chandrayaan-2. So our orbiter this time is not having all those instruments which are already working in Chandrayaan-2. And those instruments in Chandrayaan lander and the rover is retained as we did for Chandrayaan-2 with similar scientific objectives. If you say in very simple terms, we want to study moon by by actually going to the location and looking at the various elements that make the moon. First, we are looking at the constituents of the surface, or called the alveolus of the moon, by doing an elemental analysis. We call it spectroscopically. So we can look at by laser ablation. You can convert the material to gas and study it to see what of elements it is actually made of. We also have another instrument which does the same thing in a different technology. So two instruments on the rover to do this. We also have instruments on board the lander to look at the very close atmosphere of the moon, which is very rarely studied by others. So we know that there is no known atmosphere, but the gases do come out, it get ionized and it stays there. And moon doesn't have an atmosphere. We have to understand why it is so. And we have to look at the processes that happens on the moon which creates this. And recently we also found out many new findings out of Chandrayaan-2, which we would like to corroborate using this measurement as well. So essentially, and also we are studying the for example, the vibration, like the moon quick characteristics or internal characteristics. We also want to measure the thermal and physical characteristics of the regolith as well by piercing some instruments into the surface. And of course, take a better image with close proximity. So all of this will finally lead to a great level of discovery in the later point in time. So right now, this objective is to measure all of this and make some sense out of this through scientists which will work across various institutions in this country. So like the unexpected discovery of water, we are hoping that we will be able to resolve some of the scientific queries that are still resident with the moon scientists. And our scientific instruments definitely will contribute globally to this understanding of the moon. This is our objective. Of course, landing is a prerequisite. Soft landing is a prerequisite, and that's what we want to achieve. But we are keeping every scientific objective of whatever we wanted still intact.
Question to you, sir. And I know this is a very, very busy day for you. ISRO's work is always also talked about in terms of how low budget it is, or how we do it in a very economical scale compared to other countries. And we're usually compared to the cost of the 3 moon missions versus even one of NASA's. Now, how do we manage to do that? And I want you to talk today about what does that mean in terms of our technological capabilities, in terms of the quality, and why we do things on a budget.
It has been an integral culture of the organization to do it on low budget, because it starts from the very beginning that we are using public money. The understanding that we are using public money to build all of this. And of course, there is always question how money should be spent frugally and engineer things frugally so as to reach the final objective. So it's a part of the culture. So we design systems and qualify through very, very limited models and more relying on simulations, etc. We do not do things, unwanted things are minimized right at the conceptualization or qualification phase. And we also get support from industries, and they help us in terms of realizing systems not at extreme cost. We negotiate with them and see that they do it for a national cause rather than for making profits. So there are various ways by which we encourage this activity to happen. Definitely our engineers' skills and quality definitely comes in upfront to make things in low cost, because the real engineering skills are there. Recently, when we submitted our Chandrayaan-3 instruments to global review, they were all astonished to see how we are able to design wonderful instruments with extremely low budget and fastest pace possible, making use of the very challenging skills of and extreme skills of our engineers and scientists. So together we are able to plan and execute it right from the very beginning in a very low budget. Of course, there are costs encountered because we are using very exotic materials, exotic electronics. So that way it cannot be reduced further beyond a point. But we were able to do it substantially lower than many others.
Thank you so much, Mr. Somanath, for joining us today on what is a big day, a very proud day for all Indians. And congratulations once again to you and your team.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.